What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another War Thunder video. Today I'm taking out the Japanese Tier 4 fighter, the Ki-84 KO. Comes to us with a battle rating of 4.3 and is one of my favorite planes to fly. The Ki-84 KO is uniquely suited for Japan in that its performance bridges that gap in between the Zeros, the A6M3s, for example, the A6M5s, and then some of the later fighters like the N1Ks, for example. One of the issues that the Zeros have is that these just don't perform at the same tier, or at the same level, I should say, as some of the other fighters that they face, like the P-51 Mustangs, for example. They're just outclassed by the Mustangs and the P-47Ms and what have you. And so they just get raffle stomped sometimes. The Ki-84 is a very nice upgrade and is something I would recommend investing if you are looking to grind your way through late Tier 4 and into Tier 5 Japan. And if you're looking to get those R2Y2s and the Japanese Saber and what have you, I would recommend putting a talisman on this plane rather than getting something like, say, the A6M5 KO, the premium Zero. It's not to say that that's a bad plane, but I actually prefer this over the A6M5 Zero. At least for the time being. Maybe we'll get a better plane at this battle rating in the near future. We'll just have to see. Anyway, we are about 6 minutes into this battle against the Americans and British forces, and I finally found a plane up high. It's a Spitfire F Mark 9. Pretty sloppy shooting there, but I finally finished him off. This is pretty typical matchmaking you're about to see with the Ki-84 KO. This match is predominantly P-51s, as well as some Tier 4 P-38s that have been introduced in the game. Now, earlier I mentioned we're about 6 minutes into this game, and this is the only guy that I've seen at altitude. Whenever this happens, I get a little bit nervous because I know that either everyone is climbing somewhere way off to the left or the right, or they're all low. In which case, my team is going to be in a world of hurt. And I know some people may be saying, well, the Zeros are very good low altitude turn fighters. You guys should be okay at low altitude, right? Well, Japan does do very well at low altitude because of the Zeros. There's no question about that. But you can be overwhelmed by sheer numbers sometimes, and that's the situation that occasionally comes into play here with the Japanese teams. Because even though we may have very good turn fighting planes, it's not that difficult to become just overwhelmed by numbers. And with the cloud cover as low, as relatively low as it is in this particular match, it's not that difficult to be overwhelmed, not just by numbers, but by surprise. These guys could just dive out of thin air practically, and nab you. You thought you saw the one guy that was on you, but all of a sudden there's 2 or 3 that are diving on you, just all of a sudden appear, seemingly out of nowhere. And so, as good as a Zero is at turn fighting, there's only so much you can do if you're put into a fight against 2, 3, even 4 fighters, for example. Eventually, sheer numbers are going to win out, and you're going to be led on fire and shot down. Simple as that. So you want to be very careful, and you'll notice that there is a Zero up high. Thankfully, this is one of the few people who climbed. Most of the people on the Japanese team that tended to stick to the low side of the cloud cover, unfortunately. Most of the enemy team is on the far island. I'm over here trying to get this P-51 before he gets the B-7A2, which is coming in for a landing. This is the only enemy fighter on this side of the island. Everyone else is over on the other side, and I want to get this guy eliminated as quickly as possible, and then get to altitude. But of course, I got a B-7A2 coming in for landing, and I want to eliminate this P-51 before he can take him out. But unfortunately, because of my fear of compressing or ripping my wings, I just can't quite get him down before he envelops that B-7A2 in a massive fireball, as the P-51 is well known for. You can see just completely engulfed. And I honestly felt terrible because I so wanted to save that guy. Oh, I was just heartbroken because I know the B-7A2. He was coming in for a landing. He wasn't probably going to be able to do anything, but I'd still like to have seen him alive. And even if he ends up being fodder for the enemy team which is coming in, At least he would serve a purpose. As weird as that may sound. So I really did want to save him. So now we saw the P-51 coming in. We still got our A6M5 up high. Thankfully, Angel is up there. And we see a whole bunch of guys coming in. We have P-51s and P-38s, as I mentioned earlier. And I'm hoping Angel will be able to drag this guy down. You know, make the P-51 and the P-38 Lightnings give up their altitude, and hopefully get into a low altitude turn fight. Something that the Zero is obviously greatly suited for, and the Ki-84 isn't that bad at. The Ki-84 is, just to be clear for those who aren't familiar with this plane, it is an energy fighter, but it can turn fight. You just want to be careful when you're doing any sort of engagements. And if you find yourself losing a turn fight with this thing, you have to have an exit strategy. Fly away from the enemy fighters, fly either towards neutral territory, i.e. where there's no one, or towards friendlies. And obviously that's something that I'm going to keep in mind here as I engage these guys. Now down low we got a P-51 who is going to attack the B-7A2, which was not shot down, I believe. I think there was one still down there alive. A P-51 here. Another P-51 up high. Yeah, multiple targets down low. I narrowly avoid that P-51's attack, and he goes into a little bit of a flat spin. And I know this is my best opportunity. We have 4 enemy fighters down low. We still have 1 above us. This is 2 versus 5. We should be able to handle this. P-38's coming in. I completely underestimated his speed, and he manages to clip me. P-51 comes in, I pitch up to get this other P-51 as he's trying to come down. Try to line up my shot, just get a couple of hits, nothing critical. He goes into a bit of another flat spin. I wonder if he was actually flying a joystick, because usually you don't see a flat spin in most fighters. Anyway, take out that P-51 which was climbing up. I avoided that other P-51 because I was worried about getting myself too slow. I don't want to get so slow that I become vulnerable. I consider going after this P-38, but then I see on the radar that there's another red dot following my Zero buddy, so I wanted to get over here and help him out. But as it turns out, this P-51 is actually extending, trying to get altitude. He's trying to use proper boom and zoom techniques, and I have to give it to him. On my left, I got another P-38 coming in, so I avoid his shot just barely. He did get a little nick into me, but nothing too bad. Meanwhile, the Zero is taking up planes left and right. I have to give the Angel a lot of credit. The P-51 comes in with another attack. I avoid him by turning inside. Still got a P-38 and a P-51 left. Angel goes up into a head-on with a P-38, and they end up taking each other out. I didn't notice this when I was playing it live, because Angel was able to keep his plane alive in a way and fly away. So I thought he was still combat effective, but in fact he was barely able to keep it up and going. You know, we still got this P-51, which was the last one to drop the altitude initially when we started our engagement. Here, I let loose the remainder of my 20mm cannons. I know I'm going to need speed, so I go into a little bit of a shallow dive. I gain just a little bit of speed and immediately pitch right up, try to get this P-51. I'm down to just 12.7mm machine guns, but as you can see, that's just fine. Slices off that wing like a hot knife through butter. The only thing that's keeping this plane at a 4.3 battle rating, in my opinion, is the ammunition. Most planes that have a battle rating of 4.7, 5.0, 5.3, etc., tend to have several hundred rounds of cannon ammunition, or even thousands of rounds of machine gun ammunition. And that's just not the case. The Ki-84 KO is fairly limited in its ammunition. And I believe that's the principal reason for its battle rating, because the performance of the plane itself is remarkable. There's really no difference from a performance perspective of the Ki-84 KO and the later Ki-84s, which are already in the game. It's just a matter of gun types and the ammunition that they carry. If you're looking for a plane that can handle itself really well against other terrific planes, I would recommend putting a talisman on this and using it to grind your later model Japanese planes. Anyway guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. And of course, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Take care guys.